I'm really confused now. For our Week 7 recap show. My name's Fleeing Panda, and tonight I have Jirachi. Oh, wait, in 5 seconds.
Okay, just go. Just go.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, Fire Rich, because he is there so
hashtag fire.
so boosted. Anyways, this is our recap show for Week 7. My name's Fleeing Panda. I have Jirachi with me.
Hi, Fire Rich.
C-Van.
What's going on, guys?
And Menbung himself.
Theoretically.
Yeah, he's around here somewhere.
Theoretically,
whatever.
we have a man bun in here.
Yeah. Anyways, all right, so we're going to start off the week. We're going to go through our match recap. Week 7, we had a lot of things going on. A lot of matches. I think we finished up last night at around midnight or something like that.
1 in the morning, I think.
Yeah, 1 in the morning after
12:30.
Yeah, 50-minute games. We'll do that. Anyways,
yo, why were you firing me? What the hell?
We weren't here for introductions.
My dad was push to talk sucks.
Push the button and then you can talk. It's not complicated.
Rich, you're complicated.
It's pretty complicated.
I mean, I'm aware.
Anyway,
It's a train wreck. Just go.
We got
Who
a couple
versus
matches
War.
tonight too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we got a bunch of matches tonight. We got a lot of stuff going on. But Pooh versus War ended in a 1-1 draw.
HVG versus Rip first.
Oh, you have HVG versus Rip first?
Yeah,
I have
that match
Pooh versus War.
chronologically came first, I believe.
You want to go chronological order? All right.
Yes.
HVG getting 0-2'd by Rip. All right, so C-Van, what were your thoughts on this HVG Rip game?
Well, I actually thought that HVG, as I think everyone did, would 2-0 Rip, and watching the games, watching kind of like the whole, I guess, idea of shot calling falling apart on the side of HVG. I don't think they were communicating at all, or maybe they were and they're just like it wasn't working. They weren't like following the calls correctly, but everyone seemed to be not cohesive. Even Frank seemed to have some like off play or wasn't focused, and it was just kind of disastrous. And then we had amazing play on the side of Rip from Jirachi and from Menbung. Even Dosbite played very well. So and I think Bukaki Foro as well. Am I right?
If I may submit, props to my entire team. Like, they all played really well. That's all I'm gonna say.
Rich, shut up.
Yeah, there's definitely, no, but he is correct. They played very, very well. So, yeah, Rip takes the 2-0 over a top team.
Yeah, I was super impressed by Jirachi and Menbung especially, and then also Dosbite in that top lane going 1v1 with a Kout and coming out on top. One of the things I noticed from that game, though, is there's a couple trends of Panic at the Top Hat, or formerly known as DG Mad Hatter, kind of changed up his style just a little bit, at least game one. Went with an Ari, which is a bit more kind of go in and go ham kind of champion rather than his usual safer control mage. And I just kind of wonder if that really affected the way he played that series. The other thing we saw was that bot lane switched things around at game number 2, and it didn't really change a whole lot. We had Super Hoagie going support rather than ADC, and then Sal pulling out a Lucian, which Lucian's just been a bit underwhelming. So I was a bit curious about some of those decisions, and unfortunately, it just didn't work out for HVG. Okay, moving on though. We had Pooh versus War, and I think which was one of the games of the week, which was a 1-1 draw. Rich, what do you got on this one?
I mean, it was a series between two top 4 teams, and it definitely delivered in being super competitive. However, the level of play was a little bit not quite as high as I think we would have expected. It was, I mean, like, super competitive game, and there's some awesome. Game 1 displayed some amazing shot calling coming from Violet Sociocat. Some of those Baron calls that we all know she's famous for. And there was one moment around like 22 minutes, we saw them heading toward Baron. It's like, oh my god, another alley Baron call, but they completely turned it around and baited and got 4 kills, and then went to Baron. So the first game was super close for like 20 minutes, and then the last 6 minutes War just exploded with finding some great team fights, that the Baron bait into getting that Baron that I talked about. And then game 2, Game 2 was a bit of a I don't know what is even happening anymore. There were some kind of suspect calls on both sides, some overstays, and some not amazing team fights. And in the end, Pooh managed to come out on top, partially off the back of Labyrinth 1898 playing a Maokai, playing a tanky jungler. He's used to playing more like Lee Sin, these playmakers, and I've been not giving him a bit of a hard time all season, but that random guy played really well in game 2. He had 700 DPM on Tristana, went 12-3-10, had a really good game, and Bear Jr. got his Bard, and it's Bear Jr. on Bard. It's kind of, I don't know what you expect if you give it to him. So it's a super back and forth series and ending in a 1-1.
Yeah, something that really impressed me from that game, especially game number 1, which is kind of the drafting strategies that We Are a Rhino employed. I think they picked a Maokai early, which caught Pooh a little bit by surprise when the Maokai ended up top on Juice Me Daddy, or formerly known as Blackestran.
Oh yeah, this series was also known as Rich's Tilted because Hillary Clinton changed his name to Balakastran. And yeah, that was a fun game to cast, and by fun, I mean, god damn it, Austin.
Anyways, but those drafting strategies, I feel like were so well done, and I think that was one of the contributing factors for We Are a Rhino getting a game off of Pooh. All right, moving on. We had the boosted Gorilla Monkeys taking a 2-0 victory over Gimme Dat Ace. We had a few subs in this game as well. So, Sean, did you get this one?
No, I didn't. I can't comment on it.
All right, well, I'll comment on it for just a little bit since I actually watched this game. I casted it. We saw Sam Dillio come in and sub for the Gimme Dat Ace, and Sam Dillio, I think it was a last-minute sub almost, but he just seemed a little disconnected from his team at times. He did get Xerath both games, and he was a factor in team fights, but sometimes it just didn't seem like he wasn't as on the same page as he was with his jungler, like Gerg7 and Fish Baby Bot, who had a massive game. So those were my 2 initial thoughts on that boosted Gorilla Monkeys game. Anybody have other comments on that?
I don't have any other comments. Just I think that's what we expected to happen. Greg did his normal consistency. Piper played not terribly, but pretty well. I think his stats were a little bit lower than previous games, but he played pretty well. And it was just the same old BGM.
All right.
Yep. Just Sam Dilio played Xerath both games, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Okay, I think I remember that one a little bit. Yeah, Fish Baby Bot just kind of tearing up the whole entire map. Really, really good. And then them playing with a sub top laner. Making it pretty, almost not missing a beat. Yeah, mind you.
Our boy Das Bite.
You mean Juice Me Mommy, right?
Das Bite.
Juice Me Mommy saying,
is Das Bite.
Jeez.
Okay.
And
Mute
Rich
Rich.
is provoked.
Which is provoked, yeah.
Anyways,
What else is new?
we're going to go on to our next match. This happened yesterday, was it?
Last night,
yeah,
yeah.
I think last night.
Well, night-ish. It was at 6 o'clock.
Afternoon, something like that. It was afternoon on the West Coast. Anyways, the Spanish Torpedoes took on Big Anime Titties in what we could probably call an elimination game for one of these teams. Both of the teams came in at the bottom of the league, really needing to pick up points, and Big Anime Titties grabbed all 3 points in a 2-0 victory.
Yeah, and if this was a must-win game, it wasn't even like, oh, we need to take a game. It's a tie would have put both teams in actually not a great spot to make playoffs. It was just win or you likely go home for the split. Once regular season ends, and BAT with the 2-0 secure their spot in playoff contention, or secure continuing to be in playoff contention. TST unfortunately is out for the split, but both teams I think had some fun this game. Game 1 was kind of just BAT getting whatever they wanted all over the map, and ended. It was still a crazy game. It ended with TST clean acing BAT, but there were Winions pushing in top lane and killed the Nexus right as BAT got aced, and we're just all like, oh my god. But I think kind of off the back of that, both teams had a little more fun game too. Willbrooks actually went Ashe mid. It's Ashe mid. It's not something you expect to be pulled out, or you think like, oh, that's good.
Ashe mid into Zoe, was it?
Zoe, yeah. You don't expect it to be good, but he had some plays actually. There were
Couple Ashe arrows.
There were some plays to be made. A few really good Ashe arrows. General Dill over diving in the lane phase and allowing Willbrooks to pick up a solo kill on him.
Which cost a bunch of people money.
Which cost Rob and Sadistic $25 each. So the prize pool was $50 richer. Yay. And then General Dill kind of just memed a lot this game, the game too. But overall, it looked like a solid 2-0 for BAT. And I will also throw a shout out to the BAT bot lane. Like, Opie and Gert looked really good this series.
Yeah. If you thought about it, General Dill picked a literal troll for the jungle in Trundle. So I think that kind of sums up game number 2 for that series. Okay, moving on to our last series that was played yesterday evening. We had Slapnut Magoos and Gurg 5. Slapnut Magoos also being in that similar position as BAT and TST of really needing to pick up points. And then Gurg 5 wanting to keep pace with Riches Provoked and make sure that they can make the playoffs. And we ended up having Gurg 5 win a 50-minute game to take game number 1 and then clean it up game number 2.
I feel like G5 and 50-minute games are synonymous at this point.
Yeah, they're like the complexity of our league. It's crazy. So, casting this last night, game 1 was really interesting. The team comp sheet had the Akali top versus the Malachi, and then you had the Diana versus Orianna in the mid lane. But then you also had a Nocturne jungle on the side of S&M. So there's a lot more assassins than we're probably used to seeing in our current meta. Again, a lot of overdives, but a lot of just instant pops. And then there was I hope someone clipped it. There was one engage by S&M with the Paranoia into the bullet time shockwave, I believe is what happened.
Not bullet time because G5 had misfortune.
Okay, then what I don't know who they had.
Zaya.
Zaya.
You
That's right.
tested this game, dude. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. But congratulations. It was an amazing wombo, and so you knew that S&M could make stuff happen, but it seemed like communication as the game got longer and longer broke down. Also, I think S&M took every Baron that game
Oh my
off the back of like a really bad
my
team
God.
fight. It was off a really bad team fight, and their waves weren't pushed, so their side wave management was so bad to where at any time that they won a fight, they couldn't like 30 seconds to a minute and a half of their Baron was used to just push out side lane, so they couldn't take any advantages from it. So that was game
if
one.
I may offer, S&M had 4 Barons in game 1, each of them off of G5 throwing a team fight. Which I think that I haven't been keeping track of like that as a record for like most Barons in a game, but that might be the most Barons in a game in BMA LCS history.
Well, I mean, it was just crazy because then you had like the first 2 Barons all ended the same, 3 or 4 members of S&M alive, and then Panda just running away on Janna, and Panda was doing great on Janna that whole entire game.
It's in the name, right? Fleeing Panda, run away.
Damn it! No.
You can't talk either. Okay, so
We don't have a host anymore.
second game was a little bit more, I would say, measured from the side of G5. Although Sivan, like stat-wise, his KDA, you probably didn't look at it. He was on a 10 CS per minute pace, so he was staying, upright in gold and everything. And while the bot lane really did a lot of work, as I called the Animal Farm bot lane, doing a lot of work. The York pick for Frontlash not really coming to fruition. And I think the unsung hero of both games would have to be Dr. Valimundo, making the switch from top lane into jungle, since a jungle sub wasn't available, and they used StarCraft in the top lane, who did some good stuff. But playing Warwick in game 1, and then Jarvan in game 2, really setting up StarCraft to get ahead to where the split push presence of Frontlash just couldn't really do anything. So we had 3 games this week of teams who needed points and needed to win, and all 3 of those teams taking a 2-0, and thus excluding 2 teams out of the playoff race. So our playoff pool is shrinking, but everything is still really tight.
And on the other hand, 3 of the playoffs teams are confirmed: BGM, Poo, and HVG, the top 3 teams, which we'll get to standings in just a second. Those 3 teams are confirmed for playoffs. Congrats to them. There's 5 teams vying for 3 spots now.
Yeah, actually, you just kind of stole my thunder on that switch.
Sorry.
Anyways, moving into that.
Thunder!
Moving into the standings, though, as Rich was just saying there, based on those results, we will have some teams qualifying. Even though HVG didn't win, they still qualified to move on to the playoffs.
They
It's
qualified
kind of based
off of
on those
BGM
results.
beating GDA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, getting that qualification just kind of through the results, and we're going to see a bit more of that as we move forward into week 8, and then obviously in week 9 we'll have a final results thing for you. Anyways, going forward, we have our standings. BGM top of the league with some stumbles by Poo and HVG. They're now on top with 16 points. Close behind in second place is Poo with 15 points, picking up a point in that draw with War. A very competitive top 4 matchup, so I don't think that's a bad result. HVG, though, kind of hit the fan just a little bit, losing and not gaining any points, so they stay in place in third place now at 14 points. We Are Rhino is going to solidly hold on to their 4th place spot with 12 points, getting that draw. Remember, Rich's Provoked jumps up with standings just a little bit, and at least separates themselves from that 6, 7, and 8 team, moving into 10 points, so staying in 5th. Gerg 5 now, with that win, has 9 points, and they have vaulted themselves into that 6th and final playoff spot. However, with Gerg 5 having 2 very competitive matches coming up, they cannot afford to slip up here, as both Big Anime Titties and Gimme That Ace are right on their heels with 7 and 6 points. right? Give me that ace having 6, not 6. Give me that ace having 7 points and big enemy titties having 6. And then SNM and tilted torpedoes, not tilted torpedoes, they're going to be tilted after this.
Oh, the
The
Spanish,
Spanish torpedoes are now out of the playoff race with both 2
Press.
points tied at 9th.
Press F,
So-
pay respects.
Yep, F to pay respects. Anyways, we're going to move on now to our team power rankings, which, if I'm not mistaken, they're
Just go-
actually pretty close to
Yeah.
what.
And we can just talk
What the
about
actual
the
standings are.
differences, basically.
So, gentlemen, what do you think of these team power rankings?
Gentlemen and other.
Gentlemen and other.
and other. So if you look at the the power rankings compared to standings, it's basically the same. Out of well, I need to make one change, actually. So we have a couple swap arounds. HVG is in 3rd place in the standings, War's in 4th, but we have them swapped in our power rankings. And I think the reasoning for that has been HVG just hasn't looked as good in the past few weeks, and War has been looking more solid. Last week was a bit of an exception. I guess they took a bit of a downturn, but it was against Pooh. I don't know. It's a super competitive matchup, but HVG looking a little bit shakier. Just look off of the back of that, they're gonna drop a place compared to War. G5 and Rip, we actually had tied for 5th.
No, we didn't.
We had them. No, they were tied for 5th. And jumping to the bottom for a second, SNM and TST are tied in standings, but SNM has the nod in the power rankings. I think we're all still remembering their win over Pooh, and I think they looked a little better against G5 than TST did against BAT.
All right. So, yeah,
And
I don't think
BAT GDA are swapped also.
Yeah, I think that it's kind of just the trends. BAT trending up just a little bit over Gimme That Ace. The last couple weeks, Gimme That Ace has not looked as cohesive as say BAT. BAT getting that win in the last match, obviously, I think vaults them up just a little bit higher. So without further ado, though, we're gonna move on to our OP5. Remember, the OP5 is chosen by this casting panel. Plus others, right? Well, just this week, it was just the casting panel. Anyways, without further ado, your top laner for the OP5 in Week 7 is DOSBite, who actually played 2 separate matches, subbed in for Boosted Gorilla Monkeys, and then played his own match for Riches Provoked. So, DOSBite getting the nod for the OP5.
The man's a literal beast, as in he played Gnar, a sort of beast champion.
Yeah, he played Gnar and Ornn in both series,
Ornn's,
just in reverse.
Ornn's
yeah.
sort of a beast? Sort of?
He's a blacksmith, and yeah, on Shantae getting the top 5 top laner of the week.
I don't know who this Enchante fellow is. Was that
Oh,
season
okay,
1? The
first
last
off,
time
That
we
was
saw that?
season 1, yeah. Well, we
Oh,
saw
well,
him in
his-
season 2. And then
His name is definitely not DOSBite right now, so if we're gonna put that, I'm gonna call him on Shantae.
Anyways,
Jungle.
moving on to our jungle pick for the OP5 Week 7. I think this one was almost unanimous. Fish Baby Bot.
I think it was unanimous.
I actually think it was too. Yeah, it was. Fish Baby Bot just doing massive amounts of works in that jungle for Boosted Gorilla Monkeys. You even saw him take a few shots and die a couple times for Gurk 7's sins, being that sacrificial lamb. Buff transfer is complete. Anyways,
Gotta
Fish Baby
preserve
Bot.
the commissioner's KDA, man.
yep. Fish Baby Bot, your pick for, or our pick for the OP5 Week 7 jungler. Moving on to the mid lane, we had the man, the myth, the legend, Rip Bean 92, Gurk 7.
Gurk 7, the commissioner.
Anyways, I think he only died once that whole match, if I'm not mistaken.
Let me pull up the stats, keep talking real
Yep.
quick.
He went 14 for 14, 1, and 14, so only had a KDA of 28, highest KDA of the week, I think.
Yes.
Just doing massive amounts of work. He had a Ziggs in one game to push towers. And I think the second game, actually, that was game number 2. Game number 1.
2 Ziggs games.
Oh, 2 Ziggs games. Ziggs in both games. Ziggs is dumb champion. He just kills towers.
AKA Kirk 5 is not the OP5. No. It's
Gerg 7 is a dumb champion.
Kirk 7 is a dumb champion. That's about right, actually. They're not wrong. Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyways, moving on to the ADCs. ADC pick for week number 7.
It's me.
Oh, hi, it's Jirachi. You don't get to talk about.
There.
Okay,
Anyway.
Rich, you can't talk about yourself.
No, I wasn't going to.
Them.
Bleh.
Okay,
Anyways.
Rich did a really good job this week. Support for OP5?
Well, I was gonna say Rich played Tristana and just absolutely popped off. You know, almost could have gotten a pentakill, I think it was, except someone stole a kill, if I'm not mistaken.
There were 2
Could have stole. He could have had a penta.
Two almost
Ethan
pentas.
Space aids in the bottom lane. Could have had a penta by himself. He had Flash and QSS up in the top lane. Did not think that he whatever.
They didn't
that,
realize.
yeah. Well.
Yeah. Decided not to tower dive and
I
missed
wanted
out
to-
on a chance for
I watched
the
that VOD.
pentakill.
I'm like, I want the penta.
Somewhere Eric is ringing
Eric
because
is-
Eric was.
Eric is having
Eric
PTSD.
was. Yeah.
Anyways, we're going to move on to our support pick now. Our support pick for week number 7, Alistair Moody. So, Alistair Moody just doing a lot of work in that boosted Gorilla Monkeys game. Obviously, looking at the list, you had DOSBite, Fish Baby Bot, Gurk 7, and Alistair Moody, all from boosted Gorilla Monkeys, getting the
Oh,
nod
true.
this week. So, boosted Gorilla Monkeys, I think, is just one of those teams we all are just super impressed with. Poor Piper is gotta feel a little left out here.
Rip. I play better
Anyway.
than Piper. Yes.
Yeah, success for Jirachi.
Greg, you want to switch ADCs? I'll trade you.
Wait.
No trades allowed.
You don't want
Anyways.
me? I see how it is. Okay.
Going on to
Anyway.
our MVP out of this week. No surprise, is Gurk 7. Only died once. 28 KDA. Just ridiculous.
Leave him
Super mega
down.
death bombs flying from the sky.
What was his?
Yeah.
His damage per minute was 803. Well, 804. Not super high like we've seen from some other DPMs this week. We had a couple in the 900s, but he played 126-minute game. Those anything below 30 minutes, DPMs tend to be lower, and then a 35-minute game, so not like a super long one. So, considering the amount of time he played, that's actually pretty high DPM.
All right. So we're going to move on into our top 10 players for week 7. You're probably going to notice that we actually started with number 6. That really should be top 15 players for week number 7 because our top 5 were the picks for the OP5. Imagine that.
And the top one
Anyways.
was Greg. So
Yeah, top 1 was Greg. So, without further ado, to round out our top 10, 15, we really should change that. I wish I could change that. I can't change that
too bad.
because nobody gives me permission.
Change
Anyways.
it.
That's that 6th pick for. Oh, we're gonna start at the bottom. We're gonna start at the bottom.
And go 2 at a time.
2 at a time. Starting at the bottom, you had your boy Bad Instincts pulling out a Malphite, I think it was,
Alawi and Malphite. Yeah.
Yeah, just dominating in lane. And then you had Summoner 2805 for Riches Provoked, getting the nod at the 15 spot.
If I can comment about Sebastian since that was I casted that series, but okay, his Alawi game 1, it was he did fine in lane. It wasn't like super dominating, but he did so much work in team fights, and he did even better in game 2. Like his Malphite in the lane was just absolutely disgusting. He does get knocked down multiple breaks for denying a pentakill.
Yeah, he kind of ran away.
He ran away.
On
He was
the
like, you
Maokai.
gotta deserve on the Malphite. He said you gotta deserve the pentakill, but what's there to deserve if the last guy just runs away and doesn't put up a fight? So
He also missed a few unstoppable forces
Yeah.
on a Teemo in the top lane, using it to kind of close space and then flash under the tower.
Yeah.
So, played like a little bit of a boosted bonobo here and there, but still played well.
His
Played very well.
His Alawi was solid. His Malphite was really good, and that's why he's
Yeah.
on this list.
Moving on. We
Go on.
have our 12 and our 13 picks.
Nothing about Evan.
They are. Oh, we're gonna.
No one's
we're-
gonna say anything about Evan.
Evan played great. He had great engages. He's
Wait, is
my
Steven
support,
still here?
and I love him.
So you're
He gets carried by Jirachi. No, wait, what?
No, this is just like I
We
got
are
carried
black
last season by
Evan,
Billy and
I-
Steven.
I feel like Evan is really one of the players that really allows Jirachi to just do what he does, what they do. Sorry, pronouns are
Yeah.
hard for me sometimes.
Dude, Bronze,
Anyways,
it's okay.
Getting those hooks, getting those bashes with the Alistair, I think it was. Was it Alistair? I think it was Alistair.
Played Alistar and Thresh.
Yeah, Alistair Thresh. Getting the hooks, setting up plays, setting up picks. And then, of course, with the Alistair, just going in like a mad cow. He might have a disease.
If I
Vision
may
and cows.
offer,
Yeah.
Evan really flies under the radar, but he's low-key makes a lot of plays. And
Yeah.
I 100% will not say I'm just carrying him or anything. I think we both contribute to lanes, and yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, we're going to move on now to picks 12 and 13, which is Sivan for Gurk 5 and yo boy General Dill in the jungle, not top lane. He played a troll, a literal troll, and still did things.
For what it's worth, though, like General Dill just meme game 2, but he had a lot of early game pressure in both games. I mean, he played the Trundle in game 2, and game 1 he played Lee Sin, yeah, and he was just getting off plays all over the map. And yeah, I think he's a bit lower because of that game 2 trolling, but he still had a really solid week.
Anyways, we have two casters here who are very distracted by Twitch chat. Sivan, though,
Oh my
pulling
God.
out massive damages. He had his Diana that was finally unbanned. I think he was pretty pleased with his performance for his games this week. Anyways,
Yeah, Steven did a really good job. Diana pick showed a lot of comfort, and I'm not distracted by Twitch chat. No, Sebastian St. Thomas in Minnesota. He just said it. Okay, and then his Victor game we kind of touched on a little bit in the match recap. While he was like dying and kind of not respecting the weird combo of the Galio Ornn jungle, he still had like 10 CS per minute, was just farming up a storm. Did a lot of really good plays. Solid mid laner overall. Definitely top 2.
all right, and then General Dill, even though he died under the tower to Will Brooks on a solo kill, still did a lot of work, doing a lot of good ganks. I think game number 1, what did he play? He played, as we look this up,
Lee Sin, I just said it. Like
Oh, yeah,
a
Lee
minute
Sin.
ago. Boy.
played the Lee Sin, making the flashy plays on the Lee Sin, kicking people around. I think he was going to waifu fight Will Brooks for disrespecting, what is it, Monica?
Monica.
I'm gonna
Monica.
choose not to touch that meme. Next 2 players.
Anyways, he waifu fighted the Will Brooks and came out on top. Moving on. 10 and 11 look like Opie and Gert. I think
It's OP
that's
and
what I
Gert,
saw.
yes.
Opie and Gert, that 7 Shades of Greg bot lane that I now play for Big Anime Titties. Gert looked so much better this week than he did last week. He played Rakan in at least one game, and it was
Rakan was
super
so good.
impressive.
Oh my god. Okay. Because of the Rakan this week, now even more so, I'm thinking last week why you didn't play it instead of the Maokai. Because his Rakan this week looked so good. He was making so many plays. He was really keeping OP in the game. OP had a solid game 1, and each of these players alternated having a super good game and a solid game. Gert had an amazing game 1. OP had a ridiculous game 2 with 18 kills on the Twitch, I think it was. It was either 17
Yeah.
or 18.
I think it was 17.
17.
There was a time when
It was
they're all
17,
running,
yes.
like somebody was running away from the fight
Okay.
towards OP, and he has 3 people chasing them, and he
Triple
just
kill.
pops out of nowhere and just triple kills all of them.
Pop
Like,
spray and pray and just gets an instant triple kill. It's like, oh, he's fed. He had like 950 DPM this week,
yeah.
and it just
So
each player took turns being ridiculous in the game, so that's why they get on this list.
yep. All right, going on. Our 8 and 9 picks are. It's a Bison and Piper is. So Piper is gonna make his appearance at number 9 this week. Not part of the OP5, but still part of the top 10 players for Week 7. And
I'll
then,
talk about. Oh, you want to keep going?
no, you can go.
I'll talk about Piper for a second. When I was watching that game, I was pretty impressed with a lot of the laning phase things Piper was doing. He was staying pretty consistently ahead. Had a lot of pressure, like more pressure than you would expect from an early game bot lane, and I think it was both him and Alistar Moody that were able to do that like together. But Piper obviously contributed to that bot lane pressure, and then ended the game with some great KDA, great damage, great I think it was vision score, and pretty good CS. So his stats were very good. His gameplay, he did his job, he did his damage, and definitely deserves to be up there.
Yeah, and
And then
if I can talk about Bison for a little bit, he's been looking better and better as the split progresses, especially when he gets misfortune. Like his misfortune, it's not oppressive in lane. And I said this on the cast last night. He's not great in lane with the misfortune. He doesn't play it as bullying as he could, but in team fights, it's ridiculous. Like he knows where to place the bullet time, and he definitely benefits a lot from C-Van being C-Van and taking some pressure off, but even when there is pressure on him, he's still there, he's getting off his damage, and hold on, let me look up his DPM real quick. He had
I think it was in the 700s.
748 DPM
Yeah.
in that series, and that is the highest he's had all split besides Week 3, which had this hour-long game, so we don't really count that. But yeah, definitely a standout performance from Bison this week.
all right, and then rounding out our top 15, our number 6 and our number 7 are Blackistran and Bukake Poro.
So Caleb played super solid in the match versus Pooh this past week. Excuse me. Dang, even in a 1-1 effort, he was still the solid rock that War generally relies on, even in their loss. It was just unfortunate how the rest of the game went with some, back and forth kind of fiestaing around Baron and playing with Vision and stuff like that. But Caleb definitely was up there for even just being OP5 of the week. Obviously, he's number 6 right here, and always staying, near the top, if not at the top of the top laners each week. He's probably one of the most consistent top laners we have in the league.
All right, so we're
Anything about Bukaki Poro? Because I don't know if I should
Oh,
talk
true.
about him.
I'll talk about Bukaki Poro.
played Malzahar, press star.
Yeah, I mean that's
Good job.
but
Beyond
his
that.
his laning phase was very good. He just farmed up, and then towards the mid game, he started like being able to move around with his team and make plays, and not just pressing R, but like doing consistent damage. Not like obviously the ult is very important for locking down a single target, but being able to deal. I think he did like 950 DPM, something like that.
Ooh, let me look up the stats.
I think it was 950.
919.
919. Well, very high. So he did a shit ton of damage and was also able to have a pretty good KDA, great stats overall in every part of the stat book
7
categories. 7 KDA, like just performed out of his mind in my opinion. I think that was his best performance of the split. So definitely very well played.
Alright, what's
Yep.
predictions?
So moving forward, we have a bunch of good matches this week. We have Big Anime Titties versus Riches Provoked. I think that's tonight
That's tonight.
at 11 p.m.
So-
Eastern.
I'll reorder a little bit. So the first 3 matches we'll discuss are tonight. We'll actually start with War vs G5 just because that's how things ended up. But yeah, we've got War versus G5 and BGM versus Pooh, both at 9 p.m. EST tonight. BGM versus Pooh will be the game on PMA LCS in about an hour, and War vs G5 will be on PMA SGN. And then after that, as soon as BGM vs Pooh ends, BAT is going to play RIP at about 11 EST, and that will be on PMA LCS as well. So yeah, a lot of action tonight.
So getting into our predictions for War versus G5, Menbung and Jirachi, since both Panda and Cvan are not going to vote, what are your thoughts on this one?
First off, did you refer to yourself in third person?
Yes, I did. Get over it.
Okay, for that, it's 2-0 War. No, okay. No, seriously. I actually, this is going to be really, really tough because while War kind of looked a little bit shaky last week, we just recently talked about how consistent Blackestrand is, and I'm not certain, but do y'all have y'all's full lineup tonight?
Supposedly, yes.
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
All 5.
I think Dr. Valimundo back in the top lane will be more comfort for him, and having Zorak back in the jungle as well will be even better for just the team as a whole. But with that being said, I do think that War does actually take a 2-0 here, mainly for the fact that I think that Ali has had enough time and enough VODs and games to watch to try to find a good way to attack G5. I still think you need to watch out for Cvan and Zorak, kind of being like this 2-man roam squad, because usually what happens when Cvan kills the enemy mid laner, they're roaming together and getting pressure elsewhere. I don't see that happening because of the way that Ali plays laning phase, and she's generally usually the one that does roam first without having to kill her laner. So, as I'm maybe telling the people who are on the desk what to do this game, that's just the way I see it planning out. I would not be surprised by a 1-1, but I just think that the macro calling and the decisiveness of how soon War generally finishes games and the lengthiness of what G5 does benefits War. Now, if this does go 50 minutes, I think it's anybody's game, obviously, and that benefits G5 because they've done it more, but I think 2-0 for War.
I'm going to say 2-0 for War as well, and I think it comes down to just how War matches up versus G5. I mean, just going across the board, top lane, Caleb versus Volamundo. Caleb is arguably the best top laner in the league. Volamundo isn't. Aruyan versus Zorak, I think that goes about even. Cvan versus Violet Sosurcat, I think, is about even.
That's not Urion, by the way.
Shit, Guy Fieri. I
Guy
had
Fieri.
that in my mind. Yeah, I'm still thinking Parp. Damn.
Jesus Christ.
Okay, no,
Hashtag fire rich.
I formulated this point knowing Guy Fieri, and then I just said Aruyan. Guy Fieri is solid in the jungle, and I don't think Zorak is going to massively overtake him by any means. Cvan versus Violet Sosurcat, actually, historically, if you go back to last split, Cvan had some issues, not necessarily like he fell super far behind Violet Sosurcat, but he just couldn't get a lead going, and that was the one series TSF lost against Parp.
Well, the only thing I'm talking about, just sticking mainly to this split, if Guy Fieri goes on the path that we've seen him last week, taking an MVP on his Vi performance, and continues on that, he's not just a role player on the team, he's actually a catalyst to making the early game become better for War. But on the same side, if Cvan can absorb some of these bans and allow some of the rest of his teammates to get these comfort picks for them, and he just still plays well, getting that 10 CS per minute on a Victor or maybe pulls out the LeBlanc or Ahri, something like that, if he doesn't get triple banned, then I think when we're looking at mechanical skill matchups, if it was just an isolated lane, I'd probably give it to Cvan 5 out of 7 times, and no meme there, just not 100%.
What number is that?
But that Ali's roam and what she does for the team through the macro and micromanaging the macro of the rest of her team is what makes me feel like gives them the edge.
All right. No respect. Anyways, Boosted Girl Monkeys versus Pooh is the other match going on at 6 p.m. No, it's 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern.
This is gonna be a spicy one.
Yeah, Pooh's gonna need to take a 2-0 here if they want to have sole possession of first place, and BGM just needs to tie or take a 2-0 to keep first place. It's gonna be a very important game for Pooh.
Yeah, because Pooh plays HVG next week.
Yes.
They have the harder schedule remaining of these two as they both fight for first place, and I think first place is huge when you look at the 4 teams vying for 5th and 6th place, because if either one of those teams, any of those 4 teams get in and then upset their playoff opponent, that's who the first place team is going to be playing, and generally you want to have that first seed to play the air quotes significantly weaker or suggested weaker team.
Yeah. I'll start the actual predictions off by saying 2-0 for BGM. And I say this, all of BGM has looked super, super solid. Anywhere from super solid to really freaking good. And Pooh has looked not quite as good. And I think also it kind of comes down to the bot lane. Random Guy did look a lot better this week, but he didn't look better in lane. He looked better in team fights because in these team fights, he was getting off damage. He was doing what he really needed to do in these team fights, getting off damage, not dying. But Piper and Alistair Moody is just such a good laning duo. I think they're the best bot lane 2v2 in the league. And with Bear Jr.'s tendency to roam, Random Guy he's going to be in a 1v2, not being able to get farm. He's just going to fall behind, and I think they can snowball off that 2 games.
I see this game being as heavily dependent on how Labyrinth and Fish Baby Bot play. The jungle is going to be so important. I'm stealing Menbung's thunder here. I see this game going as a 1-1 draw, though. Okay. I just feel like there's enough potential for Pooh to take a game off of BGM and vice versa. Like it's just too close to call, I feel like, for one side or the other. I see them splitting.
I'm so right there with you, Panda. Yeah, you stole my thunder, but it's okay. I'm the lightning right after. So, I think the thing, like I talked about with War and BGM, is that Nick is smart enough and probably has seen enough VODs as well to know what to do to ban out against Greg. And I say this with love, but he plays really bitch champions that just sit back and farm. But that's the playstyle that they've been working with. The Xerath, the Ziggs, the Anivia. But I'll tell you that most of those, minus maybe the Ziggs a little bit, are mobile mid lane champions who are subject to ganks. Do I think Labby's going to give them a lot of attention? Maybe. Do I think Nick's going to be a ward planted in that side brush? Probably. Unless you ban all 3 of his champions, Thresh, Blitz, and Bard, he's going to be making plays. Even if he gets like an Alistar or something, he's going to be making plays in that mid lane. If you have a mobile mid lane mage, which Greg likes to play, it's going to be really, really tough. Mm-hmm. But I agree, Fish Baby Bot, probably the best performing jungler of the split, going against Labby, who's like this, who's that jungler?
Lee Sin, who doesn't make a jungle item.
Yeah, no, but like he's like the SOFM of our league. Like he has super high highs.
SOFM.
F that is.
It's pronounced SOFM.
SOFM. All right,
SOFM. Wait, so what's your prediction?
I'm gonna go 1 of 1 because
one of one. What? Hold up.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my goodness. Moving on to Steven's prediction.
We've analyzed this to death. Just go.
I'm gonna say 2-0 BGM. Yeah, that's about it. Yeah.
Okay, moving on to our last game of tonight. Big Anime Titties versus Rich is Provoked. Steven, you got some thoughts on this game?
Well, the Anime Titties is hit or miss in my opinion. They are surprisingly good in some matches and then surprisingly terrible in others. So it's like really hard to. I don't mean to be like mean or harsh about it, but it's like that's the way it seems. It's very inconsistent. They have potential to play super well, and they've played phenomenal matches where they go 2-0 and just completely destroy the other team. But then there's also games that they lose 2-0 in terrible losses. So, but that being said, Rip also has had that happen in a couple of matches with they 2-0 teams and then they get 0-2'd by teams. But in this case, I think Rip takes the 2-0 because Rip actually has been able to perform against all of the lower tier teams, and the only teams they got 2-0'd by were generally pretty good teams or high tier teams, and yeah, Rip 2-0.
We got 2-0'd
Yeah.
by Pooh, Warren, BGM.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
In other words, the top three of the
teams,
top
yeah.
4 teams. Yeah. All right. So my thoughts on this one is Big Anime Titties. This is a must-win game for Big Anime Titties. They lose and they're pretty much out. They don't hold the tiebreaker versus G5 in the standings, so losing you're out basically. So yeah, I think Big Anime Titties might be facing a little bit of an uphill battle, although both Gert and Opie have looked pretty good in recent weeks, so that bot lane matchup could be pretty spicy. Also, the jungle matchup I think is going to be hugely important. You have Menbung versus General Dill, and General Dill has proven that even if his team's behind, he can still make plays, still make things happen. He can still steal the Baron when he really shouldn't be able to. So I don't know how you can count Big Anime Titties completely out, but again, I do feel like the consistency has been with Rip. They did pick up a huge win last time with against HVG, so I think I'm going to go with Rip having the advantage in this one and getting a 2-0.
Okay. HVG GDA.
Can I quickly just do my votes for the next 2 matches because I actually have to go.
Sure.
I'm gonna say HBG takes a 2-0 over GDA and goes 1-1 for SNMPST.
Oh god, we're saving the best for last.
Yeah, best for last, of course.
All right, thanks, Steven.
All
Thanks,
right,
Steven.
yep. Signing off, adios, guys.
Okay, so HVG versus GDA. Both of these teams have struggled recently. GDA really needing to get a win here, though, if they want any chance of qualifying, as they are currently 2 points out of 6th place, sitting in 7th. And HVG, though, also sitting in 3rd place, qualified for playoffs, but they haven't looked pretty clean. So what do you guys think for this one?
So I actually have GDA winning 0-2.
Oh.
That's yours, Rich.
Way to
Oh,
go.
Oh yeah. No, that's not my prediction. Like actually, no.
My main reason is because whenever this match is scheduled, Frank most likely will not be there.
Really?
Yeah, he's out of the country.
He's out of the country until the 14th.
Yeah.
So who do they get to sub?
That's my question. So, unless they get another captain, because they have to use the sub list first, but then also at the same time, we would just probably get someone like Greg to sub there. That's the only. I mean, I'm not saying that that's what they should do, but it's most likely what they're going to do.
I mean, there's a
off
few
the sub
tier
list-
4 subs that
off the
are pretty good.
Off the sub list for mid laners, PBB is secondary mid, and then primary mids are Symphonia, Thank You Very Much, and Ice Cold Bro. That's a good list to choose from, and like
Yeah.
one of them will be available.
I also think that in our tier 3, I believe, JRAR is not a slouch. And he could also.
JRAR's a tier
He is
4.
also optional. So.
Yeah, so I think that's a great one as well. But with all those great subs being said, I think that changes the dynamic of what HVG wants to do. It changes their voice and their shot caller. And I think Adam is not joking when he's saying he's trying to take these last couple of weeks series because he wants to get into playoffs even while trying to chase Julio's meme death record. But also the bot lane at HVG switch, while I believe it is an instant upgrade, I do not think it's an upgrade enough.
So one of the things I think that we're forgetting also, though, is that you could make some switches around with the way HVG is lined up. You could move a Cout back to the mid lane, which I think is actually his primary position. You could move Guy Fieri out of the jungle and into top lane.
Guy Fieri.
Who?
And then you could pick up
Who?
John
Guy
Dis
Fieri?
the third.
Guy Fieri.
Oh, not Guy Fieri.
Aurelion.
Arurion.
Wow, both of y'all did that.
And
We're bad.
the thing is, there's no tier 4 top subs.
Yeah.
So they're gonna
But you
have.
could.
They should. They will look to get mid.
You might.
You could put Ice Cold Bro up there, or you could
Ice Cold
switch.
Bro is a primary mid, though.
That's fine, but you can use subs for any position.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
He plays a pretty mean Scion, I hear.
I want. Oh no, you're right.
Ooh.
I kind of want. We're approaching an hour, so I want to not take too much time. I actually say 1-1 HVG versus GDA. I think the sub point is a valid point, but I think that Akiyu and Aruyan, that combo, it goes off one game, and Theatrix goes off another game, and then it really does come down to the mid laner. But I think with how these teams are looking, and I think GDA's bot lane can do a bunch of work in a fight, but I don't know if they can do that for both games. And just everything about this is so iffy, so I'm just gonna cop out and say 1-1.
All right, and I'm gonna go with the 2-0 for HVG. I just feel like Gimme That Ace is just kind of all over the place right now, so it's just really hard to tell what they're gonna do. So moving on, Slapnut Magoo
This
versus the
Saving
Spanish
mine for last.
Torpedoes.
It's gonna be a meme fest. Both
Both
teams
of
are
these
out of
teams-
playoffs,
Yeah,
and it's
I-
Julio, Rob, and Will Brooks. TST are gonna pull out some spicy memes.
I don't know what's gonna happen in this
That
one.
being
I
said,
think like
I
both
think it
teams
go-
are gonna have fun.
I think it goes 1-1.
I could see that. I could also see TST getting 0-2'd by Slapnut Magoos. Slapnut Magoos have looked a bit better.
I don't think. I think you can go back and forth between S&M 2-0ing and TST getting 1-1. I don't think TST gets a 2-0 here.
Yeah, I'd be surprised. Clumsy Chocobo, I think, is only 3 deaths away from having most deaths in a split.
Tying the most deaths in a split. 4 deaths and he breaks the record. And we're
Yeah,
on week 8.
I think we're going to see a couple records broken in this game.
Yeah. And if they go full meme clown fiesta, we might get a record broken for most kills in the game.
Yeah, we already saw Spanish Torpedoes picking up a most deaths in a game record.
The
So
Brosias with 14, Jesus.
yeah, we'll see all kinds of fun stuff in this one.
This is gonna be great.
I'm hoping for a meme fest, and I'm going to go with a 1-1. Like it's a meme fest at this point, I think.
Okay, so my
I want to
prediction.
cast that game so badly now that I think
Yeah,
about
as
it.
well.
Oh, let's go. Predictions.
So my prediction, I think about this. One, it would have been really, really nice to see all of Slapnut Magoos together for the whole split, because it would have
Agreed.
made the playoff picture, I think, even tighter than it is right now. I think they could have taken a lot of games off of certain people. They took one off of Pooh. It'd be nice to see one of these teams get their first 2-0 of the split, I believe, because both of their points are from ties. With that being said, I'm going with Twitch Chat as the winner. For my prediction, that is what I'm putting down officially. It is going to be Twitch Chat.
You're a horrible human being. You know that, right?
You got it.
That's staying.
All right. So, anyways, that is gonna be it for tonight, or for this right now. Actually,
Right now
we're
we're
gonna take about an hour
6
break, and then
more
we're gonna be
hours
back.
total. Let's go.
Yeah. So we're gonna take an hour break here. We could probably even leave the stream on and just leave music playing for a bit. We're gonna be back.
I can't stream for the hour, so yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
just
you.
we'll play it off, and then we'll be back for a lot of League of Legos.
Let's go.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, peacing out for now. My name's Fleeing Panda.
My name's Jirachi.
And I'm Menbung.
What was that voice break? Anyways,
I don't know.
we're signing off for now. See you later. Tune in tonight. We're gonna have some spicy stuff cooking up for you with Guy Fieri. Cough, cough.
Hey guys. For an hour.